In recent weeks, reports have emerged suggesting a severe crisis in Russia's railway industry, a sector long regarded as the backbone of the nation's economy. The claim that nearly 700,000 railway workers are facing unemployment due to bankruptcy has sparked intense debate and concern. While the full scale of the crisis remains contested, there is no denying that the Russian railway system is under immense strain. This video dives deep into what's really happening, exploring the roots of the crisis, its implications for the Russian economy, and the political pressure it's placing on President Vladimir Putin. The Russian railway network isn't just another industry, it's a national artery. Spanning the world's largest country, it transports coal, oil, metals, grains, and consumer goods, the very elements that fuel Russia's economy. The company at the heart of it all, Russian Railways, employs close to 700,000 people and handles nearly half of the nation's freight traffic. When that system falters, the effects ripple through every sector, from factories and mines to households. And over the past year, those ripples have grown into shock waves. Official data indicates that freight volumes have been dropping steadily for several years, hitting their lowest levels since the global financial crisis of 2009. Behind these figures lies a web of problems: sanctions, war-related disruptions, logistical bottlenecks, and shrinking export markets. As Russia shifts trade routes from Europe towards Asia, its railway infrastructure has struggled to keep up. Lines in the east remain overburdened and underdeveloped, leaving cargo stranded and profits dwindling. The result is a perfect storm of financial and operational pressure on one of Russia's most vital institutions. While Russian Railways has not formally declared bankruptcy, the signs of distress are unmistakable. The company has quietly imposed hiring freezes, suspended new projects, and introduced unpaid leave programs across its regional and central offices. These measures, according to insiders, are meant to prevent mass layoffs, but they also reveal how deep the cuts have gone. Some employees are now required to take multiple unpaid days off each month, a move that underscores the company's desperate attempt to stay afloat without triggering public panic. So what exactly pushed this once stable state enterprise to the brink? The answer lies in a combination of international and domestic pressures. Western sanctions have severely limited access to spare parts, technology, and financing. At the same time, rising interest rates and a strong ruble have increased operational costs. Add to that the decline in consumer demand and a flood of cheaper Chinese imports, and the result is an economy where heavy industries, including rail, are squeezed from all sides. The war in Ukraine has only made things worse, diverting resources and manpower to military needs while disrupting trade routes that were once highly profitable. Financially, the outlook has become dire. Profits have plummeted dramatically, and investment plans have been slashed by nearly half. Infrastructure upgrades have stalled, and reports suggest the company's debt is now approaching unsustainable levels. Without state intervention, experts warned that Russian railways could face a liquidity crisis within the next year or two. This would be catastrophic, not just for the company itself, but for the millions of Russians whose livelihoods depend on the goods it transports. The social dimension of this crisis is equally concerning. Even though official unemployment figures remain low, there's growing evidence of what President Putin himself has described as hidden unemployment. This term refers to workers who haven't been officially dismissed, but are forced to take unpaid leave, work shorter hours, or accept lower wages. It's a quiet form of job loss, invisible in statistics, but painfully real in people's lives. Across Russia's industrial sectors, especially in transportation, more and more workers are living in this state of uncertainty. The Kremlin is well aware of the political risks. Putin's administration has always tied its legitimacy to economic stability and national pride. A collapse in the railway sector would shake both. In recent months, the president has publicly instructed officials to monitor the labor market closely, urging them to resolve problems before they spiral into unrest. Behind closed doors, government agencies have been scrambling to design bailout mechanisms, everything from subsidized loans to deferred taxes and direct financial injections. The unspoken goal is clear: avoid mass layoffs at all costs. Historically, Russia has taken this path before. During the 2008 financial crisis, the government stepped in to rescue major employers, including automakers and rail operators, in order to preserve social stability. The same approach seems to be playing out again today. But critics argue that these short-term fixes merely postpone the inevitable: deeper structural reforms that the state has long avoided. By relying on subsidies and state guarantees, Russia risks entrenching inefficiency rather than addressing the real problems: outdated infrastructure, corruption, and a lack of modernization. Politically, the stakes could not be higher. Public confidence in Putin's government has rested for decades on the promise of stability, a promise that begins to falter when people lose jobs or income. So far, there has been no widespread public backlash, but tensions are simmering. The fear among analysts is that sustained economic pain, especially in blue-collar regions dependent on railway jobs, could gradually erode the social contract between the Kremlin and its citizens. The railway workers, long seen as symbols of national pride, could become symbols of discontent. Still, the government continues to project calm. Official statements downplay the crisis, insisting that the economy remains resilient and that the slowdown in rail freight is only temporary. Putin himself has dismissed claims of stagnation, arguing that current policies are designed to control inflation and balance growth. Yet behind this confident rhetoric lies a growing awareness that something fundamental is shifting. The war economy, once seen as a short-term adjustment, is becoming a long-term reality, and it's beginning to strain even the most essential sectors of Russian life. Looking ahead, the future of the Russian railway industry, and by extension the Russian economy, hangs in a delicate balance. If global trade conditions improve and domestic demand stabilizes, the sector might slowly recover. But if sanctions remain, labor shortages deepen, and financial pressures persist, the crisis could evolve into something much larger: a systemic failure that reverberates through the entire national economy. In that case, no amount of political messaging will be enough to mask the consequences. In conclusion, the unfolding turmoil within Russia's railway industry is more than just an economic story. It's a test of the Kremlin's ability to manage crisis under pressure. The situation remains fluid, and while the government has managed to contain panic for now, the underlying challenges are far from resolved. With hundreds of thousands of workers' livelihoods on the line and the state's credibility at stake, the next few months will be critical. Will the Kremlin intervene decisively to stabilize the system, or will this crisis expose the fragility of Russia's wartime economy? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: this story is far from over.